Welcome back to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert, along with Tom Horn, Pastor Carl Gallups, Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis. Honored I am to be discussing my new book, just out from Defender Publishing, Bad Moon Rising, about the spiritual source of Islam. But first, I want to tell you about the secret files of Tom Horn, which we have compiled and made part of this offer.
Yeah, we've never done this before, and we've never done it in this format before, where we are going to include, for everybody that orders these 3 books, and they're getting the books themselves at half of their retail value, but for everybody that makes a donation of $35 to this ministry, help keep us on the air, help keep us funding Whispering Ponies Ranch, helping sex-trafficked kids, all of the things that we are involved here. Somebody talked me into it. We are going to send you Tom Horn's secret files. And by the way, there really are some secret files in here. This is a memory stick, which you can plug into the side of most modern televisions. You can put it in your, your laptop. On this memory stick, first of all, is never broadcast before, world exclusive, where we literally sit down with the original people that were behind the investigation into the Obama birth certificate fraud. We go into brand new territory, new forensic files that people are probably not even familiar with, and then we explain how this is actually tied into the Mueller report and the people that were involved behind that. You've never seen anything like this before. Donald Trump is calling on an investigation into the investigators. We are moving toward the content that is on this top secret file. We're going to give it to you for free. Now, also, by the way, several movies are in here. You can plug it right into your TV and watch these movies, including the 2-time Telly Award-winning documentary Inhuman. We've also included the Defender Bible, which people have been begging us to put back into print again. Well, the Kindle and e-versions, and including the printer files for the Defender Bible, are on this top secret files from Tom Horn, which is the red letter edition, the King James Version of the Bible, but also includes the expanded Apocrypha. So you're going to get all the books like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Esther, the Maccabees, and the rest of them. The Septuagint version of the Bible that the disciples of Christ would have read. The English version of the Greek Septuagint is on here. The best of conference presentations, tons of ebooks. I mean, there are whole libraries on here. There are literally tens of thousands of pages of information, including government documents. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. We're sending it to you free of charge. And I think the interview is going to stand out, as well as the Defender Bible and some of those other documents that people have been begging us for. I told Colonel McGinnis at dinner, I said, this got to be worth over $500. He said it's worth thousands. And that's because of the content here that you can't get anywhere else.
One of the things that struck me, and this actually, you talk about Hear the Watchman conference, a couple of years ago, I did a presentation on Islam. In fact, it's coincided with the Great American Eclipse. And I wanted, the moon crossing in front of the sun got me thinking, okay, let's look into Islam here and the spiritual sources behind it. And as I began looking at these old gods of Mesopotamia, the gods of the Amorites, the ones that I think that have come together in here, and we see into this realm as though into a glass darkly. We're looking in a mirror in a darkened room. So I'm not going to die on this theological hill, but I think there are characteristics of the old gods that are reflected in modern Islam. You've got the old god, the creator god of the Canaanites, El, called Enlil by the Sumerians, but he was also called Kronos by the Greeks, and Saturn by the Romans, the one that demanded child sacrifice, Baal-Hamon of the Phoenicians, the old god, the one who the Canaanites believed lived on Mount Hermon with his 70 sons. The storm god, Baal or Baal, called Hadad by the Amorites, he was identified specifically as Satan by Jesus. So again, Satan is part of this coalition. The moon god, of course, called Sin by the Mesopotamians, spelled S-I-N. And I show in Bad Moon Rising why Mount Sinai and the wilderness of Sin was so important on the Exodus journey. It's not a coincidence that Moses wrote in the book of Exodus, they entered the wilderness on the 15th day of the second month. Why is that relevant? In a 30-day lunar calendar, that's when the moon was full, the moon god's at full strength, and then God begins delivering manna to them the very next day. And by the way, that happened for 40 years until they began to attack Jericho, the name of which is based on the Amorite name for the moon god Yarik. And they attacked right after the Passover, which is on the 14th day of the first month. They began marching in circles around the 15th moon god full. God says, watch this.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's just the start of it. I mean, just the reason why they marched in a circle around the city, I even go into that. That's an ancient ritual that goes back to the city of Ur and Sumer, which was the city of the moon god.
And keep your thought and don't lose it. But what I want to say to people is this is what I love so much about the research that these gentlemen have done, is that you cannot, if you read these books, then when you read the Old and even the New Testament, you will see it in a completely different light. You'll understand why they went to particular places and did things on certain days and sounded trumpets so many times. It was a direct repudiation of the lesser gods, and Jehovah,
Right.
Yahweh, was illustrating his power above and over them all.
Right.
The first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before
Right.
you. Yeah.
The sun god called Shamash in the ancient world, he was the lawgiver, and Islam is nothing if not legalistic, but as you point out, never submit, legalistic so that they can justify doing really evil things and still consider themselves righteous. The goddess of sex and war, Astarte, Ishtar, Islam over the centuries has completely perverted the roles that God established for men, women, and children. And I document some of this really disturbing, I mean, stories that came out of Afghanistan. I'm sure you're aware of, Colonel McGinnis. The plague god, a god that most Christians have heard of, but they don't realize they have, called Resheph in the Bible, known for 1,000 years before the Exodus, known later to the Greeks and Romans as Apollo or Apollyon. And then the war god. And if we've learned nothing from 14 centuries of Islam, is that Islam is a religion based on war. The Moabite god, Chemosh, actually was the Greek god of war, Ares, Mars. And I believe that they came together in a coalition, and all of the various aspects of those deities, I think, are reflected and have been reflected over the last 14 centuries as the tenets of Islam. Numbers 24, the prophecy, the last oracle of Balaam, the prophet hired by the king of Moab to curse Israel, and he just prophesied instead. Beginning at verse 17, there's a prophecy there of the coming Messiah. And I show in the book, when you understand the underlying Hebrew, he not only prophesied the rise of the Messiah, but the destruction of the Watchers, the destruction of the sons of the Titans, the Nephilim, and then Ezekiel ties it all up in Ezekiel 39 as the final battle. It's part of Armageddon. With Colonel Bob McGinnis, Pastor Carl Gallups, and Dr. Tom Moore, and I'm Derek Gilbert. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. This is Skywatch TV.